What's going on, everyone? It's Ben from YGO from Zero, back with another Trooper format video. In this video, we're going to be covering Perfect Circle Monarch because the deck finally got Raiza the Storm Monarch, which is the big thing that makes it tick. I know some people say the Perfect Circle part of the name comes from the fact that Disc Commander has a circle in it, but I think it just makes sense that it's because of the sort of resource loop that you get to set up, where you're spinning back your opponent's stuff, forcing them to draw the same things over and over again with things like Raiza the Storm Monarch and things like Phoenix Moon Wind Blast. And they basically get locked out of the game. And now we have access to that. So I sort of put together a deck here from Joy Boy, who played in a past Trooper format tournament, and they managed to get second place, I believe, with this deck. So, I just downloaded this from Format Library and loaded it up, and we'll be playing it together and see how it goes here. So just a quick run through of the deck. This does seem somewhat similar to the deck that I played in my last video here, because you do have the Troopers and the Machine Duplication, because that just is a very powerful combo in this format. But the rest of the deck is generally just Perfect Circle Monarch. So we've got the triple Raiza, we've got a Stratos here to search out any part of our hero engine, including the Disc Commander, a Dasher here, which is not necessarily a typical choice, but I do think it makes sense given that you want to turn on your D-draws as much as possible. And this is basically a Monarch if you think about it. We've got a Fearmonger here to bring back the Disc Commander in an ideal case, but, occasionally it does serve other purposes as well. We got Triple Mally here. This is sort of the card that you love and hate. If it goes well, you love it. If it goes bad and you draw multiple, you hate it. But, we're going to be playing it either way here. For the other warriors, we've got a DD Warrior Lady, and that's it. That's all we really need here. But we can search this off Rhoda. This can banish things like Disc Commander, Treeborn Frog, etc. So it's a very, very good card in this format. For the other monsters, we got a Sangan and a Reaper. These are more crush card targets, which we are playing in the deck because we've got a lot of targets here. We've got the Disc Commander, the Fearmonger, and the Sangan and the Reaper, as I mentioned. We got a Treeborn Frog to pair with our Monarchs. I mean, this is very, very good. And we don't play too much non-chainable back row, so this should be live a lot of the time. Lastly, we got a Zaborg as our last Monarch here. Just popping your opponent's monster is pretty good. Moving on to the spells, we got a Book of Moon, very versatile card in this format. Double Braincon to pair with our Monarchs. We got a Confiscation here, rip a card out of our opponent's hand. Triple D-Draw to pitch our Destiny Heroes, draw 2 more. This can be a little bit bricky, and Monarchs is also a bricky deck. But, in the ideal case, this works out, and you're just dominating your opponent. We got a Heavy Storm to clear away their back row. We've got a Machine Dupe to pair with the Card Trooper, as I mentioned before. We've got an MST to deal with their back row. We got Premat to bring back our things, including Disc Commander to get 2 draws. We've got Double Rhoda to search out our Stratos, or just any other part of our Warrior package here. We got a Snatch Shield to take control of our things, to tribute 4 Monarchs. And for the Traps, we got Call the Honda to bring back Disc Commander and a variety of other monsters here. A Crush card, because this card is nuts in this format. Mirror Force to deal with our opponent's monsters. Triple Phoenix Wind Blast, that is a very versatile card in this format, and we do have a lot of good pitches here, like Mally, Disc Commander, and Treeborn Frog. We've also got Reconstruction to deal a bit of damage and also pop a monster, and a TT to blow up the board. For the side deck, I'd probably maybe tune this a little bit more towards what the format seems to be turning out to be, but I think this is a fine side deck. We got Double Side right here. If we're going second, this can be good to bring in, just another aggressive push here. We've got a DD Crow to deal with decks that are playing things like Disc Commander, Treeborn Frog, etc. I might honestly play more DD Crows here, but I respect just the one. We've got a Jinzo here to shut down traps, along with 2 Royal Decree to shut down traps. We've got a Mystic Walk against Burn, I think. I don't really think Burn's that good in this format, but I do get why this card's here. We've got Double System Down for Machine decks. I don't think System Down is the best against Machine decks. That might be a hot take, but it can be good in certain situations if it does go well. So, this card is here if you want to bring it in against those decks. We got Double Dust Tornado to deal with our opponent's back row. We got Double Pulling the Rug for Monarch decks and decks utilizing Stratos. We've got Double Decree, as I mentioned before, and Double T-Roar for OTK decks. We do have a Fusion deck here. We're not playing any of these cards, really, because we're not playing Metamorphosis or things like that. We're not playing T-Hero here. But, I think that this deck is pretty good even without that. So let's dive into some games and see how this deck actually performs. Okay, we got our first game against a meta deck piloted by Soul65 here. They're on T-Hero, and we are on Perfect Circle Monarch. Now, T-Hero isn't necessarily widely considered to be the most meta deck in the world. I do think it is a pretty good contender, but now that Perfect Circle Monarch is out, it might sort of be power corrupt, but we'll just have to see how this deck does. Opponent's going to T-set pass, although they sort of offset the T there, so it won't really matter that much. We set a Mirror Force and pass back to them. Now, at an interesting note, they're playing an interesting T-Hero build here. playing Wild Hearts, and that's pretty unfortunate for us when we have a Mirror Force and a Crush card in hand. But we can still use Snatch Steal to go into like Raiza or Dasher here, so it's not the worst thing in the world. It just is a bit awkward for us here. But we're going to take 3k from that. They're going to pass back to us. We draw into a Reaper, which is very good with Crush card. But unfortunately, you know, Crush card doesn't really do anything against those Wild Hearts. So before we do that, we're just going to bring out this Raiza here, spin back the Wild Heart there, and then attack in for 2400. That will go through, and then main 2, we're just going to pass back to our opponent. I think in hindsight, I probably should have set Crush Card Virus here, because we can then, you know, commit Reaper for an attack next turn. And if they were like holding Mirror Force or something, then we can Crush Card to get value off the Reaper, but we don't do that. And, you know, you could also argue that this is better to play around like Heavy Storm or something. But unless they pro set Heavy, you know, that wouldn't really come up because they'd still be losing 2 cards of their own as well. But either way here, I think this is still fine. Our opponent's going to set 1, pass back to us. We go for a Reaper now. We're just going to go for it. If they get Mirror Force, they get Mirror Force. We can pre-map back our Raiza and protect ourselves a little bit. But it looks like we will hit over that Wild Heart and then attack indirectly for 300. And that will go through, so we do get a hand rip. That's pretty good until we realize that we hit a Mally. That's pretty rough. But that does happen sometimes. We're just going to set a Crush card, pass back to our opponent. And they are going to think about this a bit. And they're going to check something real quick. And then go for a Trooper here, milling 3. That's a bit more than 3, but this was a misclick. So I think they accidentally clicked. I don't know what you'd click. I mean, it would have to be like 9, honestly, because it doesn't allow you to mill 10 or more. But anyway, they're going to shuffle those back. We get some free information, I guess. But yeah, that was a mistake. But we're going to go for Crush Card here. So the set was a pro heavy. So I'm actually glad I didn't set Crush Card Virus. But I do think in hindsight, it was potentially better to set it. I don't know. Let me know what you think about that in the comments below. But we do manage to hit that Trooper since it wasn't 1900. We hit an Ocean from their hand as well, which is pretty good to see. So it seems like they are also on some interesting hero cards here in addition to the T-Hero package. But this is still ultimately a T-Hero deck, as you will see. Our opponent's going to go for Mally, banishing a Mally, and then bring out another Mally. Then metaing that into a... That's not the right fusion monster, but they're proxying in a Robo Yaru. But that doesn't really matter here because we do know the rest of their hand. We know that they've got an E-Call here, and they've gone through like all their good elemental heroes here. So I don't think this will really matter too much, but yeah, it's just Robo Yaru. So we can just win the game off this, I'm pretty sure. I mean, maybe not, but like we can win in the next couple turns because Robo Yaru is just a monster that basically has 1200 attack, buffs up to 2200 in the damage step. I mean, I don't know. I think it's fine to go into that. It's a machine, I guess. I don't necessarily know why you'd go into that over a different one. But anyways, we're just going to attack in for a fair bit of damage. See what they drew there. And it's just a Phoenix Blade. So that will not help them here. They can still try E-Calling. But like, I mean, we just have game here probably multiple ways. Because we don't have to banish off Warrior Blade. We can pre-mat it back. I mean, this is just pretty over here. Yeah, our opponent's going to E-Call just to check to see if they have anything, and that's just going to be the end of that game. So we're going to go into game 2 since they are on a Wild Heart. We do side out some of our traps, I believe, but we don't side out like too many. But I do bring in a Crow. So I think I might take out 2 Phoenix Women Blasts for a Crow and... Or maybe I take out Comfy as well. I don't know. I forget exactly what I side. That is a major flaw that I do have, where sometimes I do forget what I side in. But our opponent's going to have an explosive start, de-drawing, pitching the Disc Commander, and also pre-matting that back to draw 2 more after Comfying us as well. So this is pretty brutal for us here. And I think the only way to sort of recover from that explosive first turn is just to heavy and just go for a ton of damage here. So we're going to go for Rhoda, search out that Stratos. Get that Stratos online. Search out a Mally here because we do have a Snatch Steal to pair with it. We also have Phoenix Wing Wind Blast to pair with it as well. So we have a lot of good ways to take advantage of this Mally. And now we can just set a Phoenix Wing and a Ring and pass back to our opponent. They are going to, and we don't have to worry about heavy as well, which is why I do this. Our opponent's going to go for a Stratos, searching out a Mally of their own. That's perfectly fine here. They're going to set 2, set 3, set 4, and attack into our Stratos. We've got a Ring of Destruction for their Stratos. So, yeah, we're trying to get aggressive, whittle them down, and they are already down at 2,600 because we attacked in for 18. They also paid 18 to, do the whole Comfy and Disc Commander stuff. And that's another 18 there. So they've taken a fair amount of damage. We don't have heavy, so we can't do anything with that. But we can just get aggressive here. So we're going to attack in for 1,800 here. They do have Phoenix Wing to try and stack that Stratos onto the top, or actually they're going to go after the back row, but we're going to chain our Phoenix Wing to try and hit one of theirs. We hit into their Call the Haunted. I believe that they could actually go for Call here, bring back Disc Commander, and get the draws, but it's a bit tricky because the location thing is kind of weird. So if you know whether this will work or not, then let us know. Disc Commander won't miss timing due to it being like an if, and then you can. So it won't miss timing there, but the issue is, like, will it even activate if it's already back in grave by the time the chain finishes? So that sort of changes at different points in the game's history, I'm pretty sure. So I'm not exactly sure whether they could have chained the Call here and drawn 2. But if they could have, that would have been pretty good here. But I think either way, we're in a really good spot. We got Snatch Steal. We're at 6,200, so we're not really at risk of dying. And I actually do make a bit of a mistake here, but I do decide to set this Fearmonger. And the reason why there's a mistake is because if they do have like a Phoenix Wing or something in that back row, they can Phoenix Wing our set monster as opposed to the Stratos. Because if they Phoenix Wing our Stratos, we're perfectly fine with that. We get another search. We can even go for Mally to bring on a Mally and then summon Stratos to pop a back row as well. So we get an effect off Stratos. So I'm not upset about that getting spun back to the top, but I will be a bit turned down by the Fearmonger getting spun back to the top. It's not the worst thing in the world by any means. It's not the worst misplay either, but it is sort of a slight misplay here that I do think is indeed a misplay. But anyways, our opponent's going to go for a Mally of their own, banish that, and get out another Mally there. And they're going to go for meta into Darkblade the Dragon Knight, which is actually going to be a bit annoying for us. We didn't go for a Mally because, you know, Phoenix Wing on a Mally would be disastrous. I mean, I guess not too disastrous because we have Snatch Shield to then tribute over for Mally, but I felt like that would have been not very good. So I decided to just set the Fearmonger instead. But this does come back to bite us here because our opponent is able to bring out this Darkblade the Dragon Knight. If they did have another normal monster to summon here, then they could have actually hit over a Fearmonger and caused it to not get its effect off. But they do not, so they're just going to banish the Mally and the Trooper there, pass back to us. We have the Snatch Steal here, so we can go for that on their Darkblade the Dragon Knight. And then on res, our opponent's going to go for a Crush card here, so they're able to tribute that Mally and get rid of the Darkblade the Dragon Knight, but we still do have this Fearmonger to try and attack in for game here. So we're going to flip that Fearmonger, and they do have a Call the Haunted, but we've got the DD Crow for that, so that will indeed be the end of the game. So again, you know, maybe this would have been a bit different if they did activate Call the Haunted and Disc Commander did work that way. I don't quite know what the ruling is on that, so let me know down in the comments below if you do know what the case is for Trooper format here. But either way, pretty good showing for the deck here. We've got our next game against Yes My Darkness, another freaking guest on the channel. Always a pleasure to have them on. And we're diving in to the games here. We unfortunately lose the die roll, so we are going second. And that's a shame because Destiny Draw with Fearmonger would have been pretty nice here. But as is, our opponent's going to go for E-Call, grab a Stratos of their own, and then go for Stratos here, searching out. What are they searching out? An Ocean. Okay, so it seems like they're on another hero deck, but maybe not the T-Hero variety. They're going to go for Dust Shoot here, spinning back that Fearmonger because we do have the D-Draw, which is quite unfortunate for us. And then they also get a peek at our entire hand here. We're going to set a Spirit Reaper and then set a Call and a TT. They do know pretty much all of our back row unless we like bluff set a D-Draw. I think this is still correct. And our opponent's going to go for Exiled here. I debate using these TT on this. I think in hindsight, maybe I should have, but I'm so low on cards that I feel like I kind of need to save the TT for when it will actually get a fair amount of value instead of just going for two. Like if they go for like Ocean and stuff, that might be a good TT there. But either way, we don't do that. We just set a DD Warrior Lady here and pass back to our opponent. They're going to bring out a Wild Heart, no point TTing that. They're going to hit into our Warrior Lady, and we're not going to use the effect because I want this around to tribute over for Raiza next turn. And we can call it back as well. They're going to smashing that, though, and then pass back to us. We draw into a Phoenix Wing, which is kind of awkward here, but it's still fine. We go for DD Warrior Lady here, and then we will tribute the DD Warrior Lady for the Raiza, spinning back that Wild Heart and then attacking into the Stratos. Unfortunately, our opponent does have a Saku here, which will be quite rough. I mean, if they bring out the Wild Heart next turn, then we might be forced to TT the Stratos, but it's just awkward. Yeah, we let it go through because, again, like, we are pretty low on cards, and I don't want to use TT as a 1-for-1, but we're taking so much damage here. Maybe I should have. We draw Mirror Force, so that at least, you know, if they don't summon another monster, we can Mirror Force the Stratos at least, but, yeah, we do just have to Mirror Force this, and we take 15. And that Wild Heart is not going to be affected by any of our traps here. We draw into Frog, which is not the best, but we will set it, or I guess we don't set it? Why don't we set it? I think we lose the game here because if we had said it, we at least potentially stave off some damage, but it wouldn't matter with that Wild Heart. But either way, I think we should have probably set the frog. But, you know, I didn't do it, and it didn't matter there either way, but if they didn't have another monster, then it would have actually mattered. So, actually, we knew about the ocean, so, but we could have Phoenix won the ocean and then still protected ourselves. So, yeah, we definitely misplayed there at the end, but either way, this hand's much better. I mean, this hand's kind of cracked. We go for a Comfy here, getting a peek at their hand, see they've got a Wild Heart, a Warrior Lady, a Stratos, an Ocean, and a Comfy here. And ultimately decide just to take out the Stratos. I feel like that's ultimately fine because I don't want them to get effects or searches off that. And I feel like I can deal with the rest of the cards in their hand. We go for the Trooper here, milling 3, hoping to hit a Mally, but we don't hit a Mally, unfortunately. And then I'm just going to set 4, pass back to our opponent, just making that Comfy basically dead. If they attack into the Trooper, we draw a card, then they Comfy that. Then I'm ultimately okay with that. We then have Rhoda to search out a Warrior from a deck if we want to. I could have gone Rhoda for Stratos, grab a, like, Mally or a, well, Mally wouldn't have really made sense, but I could have grabbed a Disc Commander here to then set up the Crush card on the following turn. But I don't really think it's worth it. I'm just perfectly fine with this sort of turn of events here. Our opponent's going to bring out that Wild Heart attack over our Trooper. We could potentially book it down and then attack over the Wild Heart next turn, but I'm fine with drawing and then getting that to bait out the Comfy here, because then it is baited out. Opponent's going to set 1 pass back to us. We draw into a Sidra, which is very good here. We're going to go for Sidra, and then we're going to go for the Rhoda to search out a Stratos here. So Stratos will be able to get us a search of a hero monster. We are going to search out the Disc Commander here, because then we can pair that with the Crush card more easily. Sure, if we had searched out a Mally, we would have a way to, like, Snatch Steal the Wild Heart and then tribute over that for Mally. But I feel like this is ultimately fine. And if they do have, like, a Mirror Force here, that's awkward for us, but, like, we can book down one of our monsters, so we're not too upset about that. But looks like they do not, so we're just going to attack in for 18 and 21, pass back to them. They do have Decree, so that'll shut down our Crush card, unfortunately, but we should be in an okay enough spot because the other 2 cards we have are not traps, so we feel pretty good about that. We're just going to attack over their set and then attacking directly with the Stratos. It was a Sangan, so we'll be able to search out Exiled Force here. Then we're able to attack in for 18 here. And then we're going to set the Disc Commander as a bluff. Hopefully they're going to exile that and leave themselves wide open. But they're just going to set 2 and pass back to us. I mean, I guess if they'd gone for exile, they would have lost here. Pretty much guaranteed. But we just keep drawing traps while the Decree's up. And this game, I know we sided out of Phoenix Wing Wind Blast. We sided out of those. I believe we brought in, well, we brought in the Sidras for sure. And I think we brought in a Crow as well. So we brought in 2 Sidras and a Crow. And I believe we sided out of the Phoenix Wings. But unfortunately, we're just drawing all of our traps. Spirit Reaper's okay, but it's not really the best here. We can still summon it out. Actually, it is fine, because then this is lethal. Yeah, so their set was just Heavy Storm, but Snatch will be able to clean up this game quite nicely here. So that worked out pretty well for us. Going into game 3, I don't really change up the siding that much. I think I take out a Sidra for a Comfy. Or no, wait, no, I'm going second here. So never mind. I had the Comfies in that game. I think I take out the Comfy for a Sidra. So it's a pretty good hand overall. It would be better if we can get away into a Destiny hero to go for Destiny draw, etc. But it's still pretty good. Our opponent's going to go for a Stratos for Wild Heart there. And then they're going to activate the Skyscraper to Hero City. So that will be a bit awkward for us, because what we'd like to do here is just summon out the Sidra and the Card Trooper and crash over that Stratos and get game in that way. But that makes it a bit awkward here. We can still do summon it pretty good. We can go for Rhoda on the Stratos there. Go for Stratos. Get into a Malicious here because we're going for a ton of damage. Yes, we do have Call, but I feel like just going for a ton of damage here before they can actually get their advantage off the Hero City makes more sense. So we're going to go for Mally, banish a Mally, go for BrainCon here, take control of that Stratos, and then attack in for a ton of damage. We've got another BrainCon here. We got to call the Haunted. We got TT. We got a lot of different options here for both controlling the field and also getting aggressive on the following turn. So we're going to get in for a ton of damage, dropping our opponent down to 1500, then set the TT in the call, pass back to them. If they go for Heavy Storm here, then the Stratos can't come back off the Hero City, so I'm fine with that. Yeah, unfortunately, we do not have Ring. Ring would be really good here, but they bring out a Wild Heart and then go for Our Righteous Justice. That is wild. Very, very interesting tech here, but it does work out for them because they're able to snipe our 2 back row there. So I didn't go for TT because I felt like it would be kind of self-defeating to TT and then, just leave the Wild Heart there. But I guess that would have protected us from the Stratos coming back off the Hero City. But I feel like if that's all they do, then we should be fine here because we can BrainCon it and then go for game next turn. So they are going to grab another Wild Heart, unfortunately. But they're just going to pass back to us. So this will be game. And we drew Heavy Storm as well in case we were worried about that. We're just going to go for Mally, banish a Mally, and then go for Card Trooper here. And actually, I don't think we even needed the Brain Con here because that's not 100 plus 600 plus 800. So that actually would have been exactly lethal without the Brain Con, but with the Brain Con, it is just giga lethal. So that's going to be the end of the game there. And yeah, I love the Skyscraper 2 Hero City deck. I will be showing it off on the channel later in my Trooper coverage, but unfortunately, it was not able to stand up to the Perfect Circle Monarch deck here. Although we didn't really do much Perfect Circle Monarch stuff here, but it still just definitely does show the strengths of the deck overall. That's going to do it for the games. I couldn't really get any games against like, Machino DK or anything like that. But I think this deck is still very good. I think it's very good in the metagame. I think it is tier 1, despite how bricky it can be sometimes. But I do think it is a very fun deck. If you want to play it and you're used to Monarchs, then this could be a good deck for you. It also plays the hero stuff, so if you like heroes, you still get to play that, even if you are playing with a more sort of competitive edge. But what do you think about this deck? Let me know in the comments below. If you like the content, subscribe to the channel. We got more Trooper games coming. And also leave a like down below. Also, if you want to support me directly, I've got a Patreon linked in the description down below. And if you join the Patreon, you get shouted in the video. So big shout outs to Rincewind, Porkchop Coon, Bren Donker, Tyler Compton, GeoMyFS, Dump Truck, and Scout Zero. It means a lot that y'all support me. So I encourage you to make more videos like this one in the future. If you want to play games in Trooper format or any other format that I feature on the channel, then head on over to the YGO from Zero Discord server. But until next time, I've been Ben from YGO from Zero, and I'm signing off.